Hi, my name is Deb Johnston and welcome to Better Balance, Greater Business. I'm holding this summit because, like you, I'm in business and I want to show you how you can increase your productivity levels, how you can have a lot more energy and live a more peaceful, fulfilled, balanced life while still achieving even more success in your business. Today, I'd like to introduce to you Martin Probst. Martin is an international author and he's the founder and chief education officer of Profound Leadership. Now, Martin has a mission, and that's to educate and empower successful but unfulfilled managers to not only accomplish tangible achievements, but to also increase their confidence and their fulfillment. Now, he's the author of 6 Australian and international books and audiobooks. He has presented at and held over 100 workshops and speaking engagements. And he has 9 years teaching experience in a classroom setting and over 1,000 hours one-on-one coaching. I'm really excited to have Martin here with us today because he has helped hundreds of managers stay in control 100% of the time. And he's going to share with us his wisdom on conflict management and how to keep you cool. Welcome, Martin. It's fantastic to have you here with us today.
Hello, Deb. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. I thought you'd frozen a bit there, but you got through.
Yeah.
Oh. Awesome. Now, look, Martin, you and I are friends, and over the years, we've had some really cool conversations. So I'm really excited at what you're going to share with our audience today. I'd love it if you can start by sharing a bit about you and your story and how you came to be doing what you're doing now.
Fantastic. Thanks, Deb. Look, I think the story started very early days, and it's like a book. The life is like a book, and I think all chapters, they refer to each other. And looking back at the 80s when I started my apprenticeship, I think everything started already there. It was quite a tough time at the time, there was quite a lot of physical and sometimes also mental abuse there. And very early days, I thought, is that really the way it needs to be? Or are there better ways to deal with people and motivate them rather than with negativity and harshness?
Yeah.
And it seems that there were reoccurring patterns all the way through. And no matter how far away I went, I realized that you always take yourself with you. So I really came to the point where I had quite a lot of success in business and in personal life, but it just felt really damn hard to get that achievement. And I really thought there must be an easier way. And about 11 years ago, when I became a dad, that was really a turning point for myself where I thought, wow, I even stepped into a father role here. And I started to invest into my own mindset, did a lot of leadership training and really looked what's out there. And that's really when it hit off with profound coaching or profound leadership as it is these days. So it has been really a huge learning curve. And looking back at my kids, 11 years on, beautiful daughter, beautiful son, having a great relationship and also having the success in business where you get actually a lot of confidence and fulfillment. It's just fantastic to see. So this really gave me a motivation as well to start publishing books and really spread the word to share my insights with as many managers as I can.
Wow, so this has been something that you've chosen to do through your own experience, which is even more powerful, isn't it? So the people that you're coaching.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of own experiences and really understanding and seeing these days how many business owners are out there and CEOs who really work hard and dedicate all their time and have a lot of tangible achievements perhaps, but just not getting that confidence and that fulfillment at the end of the day really motivated me as well to assist them and share all the insights.
Yeah. I agree, because if you're not feeling confident, if you're not feeling fulfilled, then productivity levels do drop. It affects your energy, it affects your whole life. I mean, we spend so much of our time at work or working in our business that if we're not happy doing that, then it affects our whole life.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're spot on, those leadership skills, if it's interpersonal communication, if it's conflict resolutions, those skills, they certainly not only help in business, they are really valuable in relationships, friendships, even into the greater community. It has a huge positive influence on everybody involved.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. Yeah, I agree. So I know today you're going to share a lot with us around conflict management and how to keep you cool. And I can see it's something that you're really passionate about. So I'm wondering, what causes conflict and what causes stress, Martin?
Yeah, look, there's so many things that can cause stress and conflict, and they are very much related. I actually had a bit of research done, and a Medibank private research, which is actually quite a few years old already, suggests that conflict stress, which is caused to conflict in the first place, of course, costs the Australian economy nearly $15 billion.
Whoa.
And that's only a financial cost. So we're not even talking about the emotional or the physical or mental costs involved. And just to give you a bit of an average there, that's more than 3 days per employee that is taken off due to stress per year. So you can do your maths for a business, into small business. That's a huge cost involved on a lot of different levels.
Yeah.
So what causes conflict? One of the most common things that causes conflict, and it's almost too simple to appreciate, is actually misunderstanding. So there's so many different ways that we can misunderstand or misinterpret events that leads to a lot of conflicts very easily. And I think you and all the listeners can agree that it is so simple to say something and be misunderstood. And that really has to do with the understanding that we actually expose to about 2 million bits of information every second. And because we can't absorb all that information, we delete, we distort and generalize. And we only end up filtering in from 2 million bits, we're only filtering in about 132 bits. Now, don't ask me how they actually measure that, but it's quite an interesting stat. And this is, by the way, what we call our reality. So it's quite interesting to know that 7 chunks out of 2 million bits of information, that is our reality. So who really is to say that I'm right and therefore you're wrong? Yeah. So that already puts things in a completely different perspective. Yeah. And we also need to understand that quite often that conflict really, the definition of conflict is really, it's a difference of values, needs, wants, or expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the expectations has a huge effect, doesn't it? So
we need to be very... Yeah, absolutely. So we need to be very careful on how we interpret things, and if we choose to interpret things in a positive thing or in a negative thing. And I can give you a quick example just to really bring that home, how it works. If you perhaps work with somebody in a business and you ask them a question, and you may not even get a response from them, or just ignore you in some sense, what is going on in your head? It's quite interesting. You may interpret that event as, oh, that's quite rude. Why are they not talking to me? Exactly. What have I done wrong? Why does nobody appreciate me? So with those three statements, we actually have a very clear deletion, distortion, and generalization right there. So when the person doesn't talk to us, what do we delete? We may delete that the person is just too busy with themselves, that they may need to work towards very close deadlines. Yeah. We may delete that they delete our presence in the room. Yeah. And then we ask ourselves, well, what have I done wrong? Which is the distortion. Most likely we haven't done anything wrong, but we're making it about ourselves rather than just appreciating that the other person is just too busy right now. So that's a distortion. It's not about us at all. And then the conclusion or the generalization, in other words, is why does nobody appreciate me? Nobody. And we kind of summarize our experience based on one event. So it's phenomenal how the brain works, and giving us an understanding, we can make better choices on how we interpret things.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, why does nobody appreciate me? Why does this always happen to me? And automatically the mind reflects back on all the times that you haven't had the response that you want to have, and all the times that you felt like you've been ignored. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you bring that up, Deb. That's one of the learnings, big learnings as well. We too often ask ourselves why questions. Why does it always happen to me? Yeah. And when we ask those why questions, it actually victimizes us, because the brain goes out there and looks all for the evidence that we are the victim, that there's nothing we can do. The brain actually looks for excuses and justification. We should actually ask ourselves, okay, what do I need to learn about myself? And therefore, how do I change the situation? Yeah. So why questions often focusing on the problem, that doesn't leave us time for solutions, whereas the how and what questions looking for solutions rather than problems.
So true. Yeah, it's so true. And this is a huge expansion of awareness, isn't it? This kind of information, because it gives you the ability to look at everything in a different way.
Absolutely. And it is about seeing things in a different perspective. And especially with conflict, too often we are so digging into the problem, we see everything through our own eyes, that it becomes bigger and louder and more noisy than it actually is. So we make an elephant out of a mouse, and it makes us very subjective rather than objective.
Yeah.
And really that is, as more we focus on the problem, as more we have a problem. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So or conflict resolution starts with self-leadership and self-awareness. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's the self-awareness. And I love what you say about, okay, what is it I need to learn about me, and how can I change it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
and I had this epiphany. Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had an epiphany, which I also put in my latest book. Leadership is really about what you can do rather than how you change other people, because again, we're wasting so much time trying to change other people rather than focusing on what's in our control. So I had this epiphany, as I said, and what I came up with is really, every time you think the problem is out there coming from somewhere or somebody else, you actually empower what's out there to control you. So you're actually victimizing, as I said before, you're victimizing yourself by saying you don't have any power. So your mindset really needs to shift to, no, what out there has to change first, to what changes can I make in order to change what's out there.
Yeah.
That's a completely reversed mindset. And the beautiful thing is I'm in control of myself and what I do. So it's much better to invest in that rather than hoping that something else will change.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite empowerment, powerful.
Oh,
Yeah.
incredibly empowering. Yeah, because you're moving out of a state of helplessness up to really putting yourself in a position to be able to change the situation. But it begins by changing yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. I love that. So,
And that's another point. Too often. Yeah, Deb, just go ahead.
yeah, okay. Oh, okay. So, yeah, so I thought you had something else you wanted to add there. So, what I'm wondering then is when someone finds themselves in that situation where they are perceiving something in a way that could cause conflict, how do they keep their cool? Because as we know, when our perception's there and we're perceiving something as a conflict or it's something we don't like, then the emotions start going, you know, and often move into the fight, flight, or freeze. So how do you keep your cool in that sort of situation?
Yeah, that can be a really tricky part, and we touched base with the previous question. If we are in a conflict, we are quite often involved in the emotions. We are very much emotionally involved in the whole concept.
Yeah.
And I call that, with all respect, but I call this the drama cycle.
Yeah.
And too often we see ourselves either as an aggressor, so the bully, we see ourselves as a victim, the victim that nothing can do and it's on the mercy of the aggressor, or quite often we see ourselves as a rescuer. But the problem is all three of those identities actually have not a win-win mindset, which is key. All of the three actually have a win-lose or a lose-win mindset. And the whole drama goes on and on. And because we are so much involved in the drama, and as I say that with all respect, but the brain loves stories, the brain loves drama, because somehow it does connect us with other people, but of course in a very unresourceful way. So one thing you can do to really keep your calm is you need to, rather than judging the behavior of the other person, you need to see what is their real intention. And I'm a big believer that every action or every behavior has a positive intention. And although we don't appreciate or quite often feel it's very disrespectful how the other person acts, it is a positive intention, because even if somebody freaks out or is the bully, quite often they just be the bully because they want to be understood, they want to be listened to, they want to get some attention, or they want to feel significance. And I think, can we really blame them for it? We all want that. We all have those needs. However, if we look beyond the behaviors and we understand what needs they want to fulfill, we can cater for it. And as I said, then we can start to identify of how can I fulfill the other person's needs in a more resourceful way, so they don't have to scream, so they don't have to be with the bully.
Yeah.
And we can fulfill those needs in a much more resourceful way. And another example, it's great, we're calling that a disassociation. When we take ourselves out of the equation, when we're taking ourselves out of that drama cycle, where we become, as I call, the observer, so we see things from a distance, we become much more objective. In other words, it can be a simple exercise of like almost going to the movie and sitting in the beautiful couch, watching a movie on the big screen, which you are one of the main actors. So you play the movie on the big screen and you see yourself from a distance. And it's actually interesting when you do that exercise. Sometimes you have to laugh about yourself because you're seeing yourself in an objective way, where you can actually give yourself feedback, where you can give yourself really great advice and say, hey, dude, what are you doing? Don't you realize you're actually part of the problem? So I want you to take a few deep breaths and step out and calm down and actually start listening, or changing the behaviors that influences the other people. And that really can be also very powerful and really help you to stay in control and keep you cool. It's a very important. I really try, encourage you to try that out, and also the listener, of course. It's actually quite a cool experience just to do that.
Yeah, that would be. And I'd imagine that could also be quite confronting too, couldn't it? You know, to actually see yourself rather than being involved in it, to actually see yourself as separate from it and to see your own behavior as well. I'd imagine it could be quite confronting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. But really changes from a subjective view to an objective view. And again, that creates a lot of self-awareness where you can really assist and help yourself with great advice. And that can change a conflict and really turn a dysfunctional situation in a very productive outcome. And let's face it, sometimes when we have conflicts, if we are able to solve them, we can actually build really long-term, strong relationships with other people, because it builds that respect and the integrity, and also the understanding that people will not just walk away, which we see often these days, where I feel that we almost become a bit too independent, where we don't need each other anymore.
Yeah.
And, we just don't answer emails, or we're sending text messages and breaking up relationships. And that's not a healthy way to go. We do need to appreciate almost that there are conflicts, and we need to solve them with that objective view. So really become the observer. It's one of the key strategies that I also outline in my book that really helps people to stay in control and keep their cool.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I really love that, Martin. So yeah, see yourself objectively. So see yourself as if you're looking on a screen, and I can see how that really takes you out of the situation, and to look at it from the other person's point of view as well, and look at it. What is it that they
Absolutely.
What is it that they really want? And I love your example with the bully, that it's about, they probably want attention, or they're needing significance, or.
Absolutely. And there needs to be a balance. I'm glad you bring that up. There needs to be a balance, because the bully is very good in having courage for himself or herself to stand up. But the bully doesn't have compassion. Yeah. Whereas the victim quite often has way too much compassion for the other person, but never really learned to have the courage for himself or herself to stand up. So it's quite interesting, or almost a paradox, knowing that the bully could actually learn a lot from the victim, and the victim could actually learn a lot from the bully. And bringing into a moderation of both areas, they could become actually really good friends. Yeah. And I saw that just recently with two clients I had to work. I was called in for two employees who had a huge conflict together. And I met in the boardroom, and one lady was sitting on one side and the other lady was sitting on the other side.
Oh my gosh.
And I said to the ladies, so why are we here? Why are we having that conversation? And one of the ladies said right away, I said, look, if I see your face, I just feel like punching your face. And I thought, you better make something out of that situation. And it really came down to a huge misunderstanding, and where they could learn a lot from each other, because one was way too compassionate and felt like the bully, or felt like the victim, and the other one felt like the aggressor, because she felt like I have to get the attention in a very negative way. So conflict can be resolved in actually very easy and a very quick period or short period of time.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And what's even more incredible is that those two people that can learn so much from each other are actually in the same space where they have the opportunity to do that. Funny that.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Martin, that we haven't already discussed to help our viewers in this area?
Yeah, look, I think one of the first things I would like to share with you and the viewers as well is if there's a conflict, don't deny it. And that's quite often a problem as well, is we just ignore conflicts, or we hope that conflicts go away by ignoring them. No, let's face it, conflicts become actually bigger if we ignore them. We need to get the conversation started. That's really important. I often say the problem is not to have a conversation, the problem is not to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So get the conversation started and always go for win-win. You mentioned before we have either we get out of it, which is the flight mechanism. We freeze. We just don't know what to do. We fight, which is the fight mechanism, and we take over. Or we have a fourth option, which is we go for win-win, and we have a conversation where we clearly say, let's have the conversation and find some solutions that are working for both of us. So yes, just to finish it off, let's get the conversation started. And of course, it helps if you educate yourself in that area and really have strategies. It is a strategy how you can deal with conflicts, and also how you set up a communication. And if I can take that opportunity, if that's okay with you, Deb, as you know, I published a book, and you said that in the introduction, actually really nice, so thank you very much. How about I share my latest book, which is Master Your Mind. It's actually quite an extensive book here with over 350 pages, I believe, or something like that. How about I share that ebook version of the Master Your Mind with our listeners? And it really focuses, has a whole chapter on conflict resolution, 2 chapters on communication strategies, stress management. It's almost like a manual for life. So I would love to offer that to our clients if that's okay with you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Martin. That's really generous. So that's the ebook version offered as a free gift. Is that right?
That's absolutely right, yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
And I would love to do that. And, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you, Deb. Thanks for having me, and also for the listener or to the listeners. I really hope it gave you some inspiration and really some motivation to tackle some of the conflicts you may face as well, and really sort them out and turn those dysfunctional situations into really productive outcomes.
Fantastic, Martin. This has been an awesome interview, and thank you so much for your free gift. And you can access Martin's free gift by clicking on the link underneath this interview. So you'll notice that there's a link on this page that you're watching the interview on. If you click on that, you can access Martin's free gift there, and I encourage you to do so. That was an awesome interview, Martin. Thank you so much for all your insights and the strategies that you've shared with us. It's been fantastic. And
thank you, Deb. Thank you very much. Yes, great conversation. Always good talking to you.
Always a cool conversation. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And I trust that you have all gained some amazing insights and have a lot more awareness around conflict and how you can manage conflict and how you can keep your cool. And this, and I always say this, and I will keep repeating this, this is about implementation. Always remember this. You can listen to an interview, which is fantastic. You gain the information, but if you don't do anything with that information, then you're in the same place. So it's about implementing what you learn. So when you finish watching this interview, click on the link for Martin's ebook and download his free gift. It's a fantastic offer. Thank you for tuning in, and keep tuning in for upcoming interviews. We have more incredible experts all sharing their tips and strategies on productivity and how you can feel more energized and peaceful and achieve more success. We've got lots on time management, productivity, health and wellness, mindset, values, and lots more. Well, that's us for today. Thank you again, Martin, and thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. And I'll look forward to seeing you online very, very soon. Have the most amazing day today. Bye-bye.